All right. Whoa. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the That's an Awful Take podcast, episode 16. I'm your host, Price Manser, the host with the most, here to make the most out of your day. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Thursday, as always. Wonderful week in general. For me, it's been pretty exciting stuff, pretty good. I can't complain. So I hope that's the same case for everyone else. We got a really big episode today, Once again, shout out Josh last week for coming on the pod, talking baseball. Really great stuff there. If y'all want Josh back on the pod, please let me know because it was so much fun having him on there. But anyways, today we're going to switch focuses yet again and move to the NFL, and in particular the NFL draft. And today's episode, if you can't tell from the title, is the top 10 running backs of the 2025 NFL draft, at least my top 10. Let's just start this off by saying that the NFL this draft class for running backs is probably the best since 2017. And if you guys don't know, 2017 was the class of CMC, Aaron Jones. There's a lot of great guys. Sorry, my mind just blanked, but probably regarded as one of the best draft classes for running backs in the past 20 years. Probably the best one. And there's just a ton of elite running back talent in this class. The combine started today for the NFL draft as well. So right now, edge rushers and defensive tackles are doing their drills. A lot of exciting stuff there. We've already seen some pretty good early risers. We'll talk about it more next week for sure. But be on the lookout for Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart might be in the top 10 after his combine performance today. But that's kind of off topic. Spring training, of course, is going on in baseball. Really exciting stuff there. I've been paying attention to it, trying my hardest. So, hopefully I can talk about it next week. And of course, NBA is heating up. A lot of teams pushing for a playoff spot. So, yeah, hopefully it'll all be good stuff coming up. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So, this running back class, we're going to take a look at it here. It's deep. It's really deep. So, obviously this top three, their top three, this is not my top three, but, you got Ashton Jeanty, Amarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, the list goes on, right? You got Travion Henderson, Dylan Sampson, Judkins, Devin Neal, Scadaboo, Khalil Mullings, Brashard Smith, Jordan James, Taj Brooks. Even like on the second page, you got guys like Raheem Sanders, Damian Martinez, Jaquindon Jackson was really good, Phil Maffa, Woody Marks, Donovan Edwards. It's crazy how deep it is. Kyle Monagai or Manan. I don't know how to say it, guys. I'm gonna be so real, but the guy from Rutgers, he's really good. Jarquez Hunter, Trevor Etienne, Ulysses Bentley, Jaden Blue. Like there are so many just great running backs. Montrell Johnson in this class, and it's kind of insane that like how loaded this class is. Like I truly believe there are like 15 guys in this class that can play, like can have an impact in the NFL, let alone play. Like I think this is going to be like kind of like a running back reset. A lot of teams kind of, if they don't have a superstar one or a guy they think they like can't be the one, like the Broncos, the Raiders, just to name a few teams, like the Chiefs, I wouldn't even say have a sure one right now. Seattle even, like there's a lot of teams where if you don't have a sure one, like this is the draft class to get it. And this class is just absolutely loaded, like top to bottom, just elite talent. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So we're first going to start off with some honorable mentions because of how loaded this class is. So let's go ahead and get into it. So our first honorable mention is going to be this guy right here, Marcus Yams. So Marcus Yams, if you don't know, played FCS ball at Delaware. And he's one of the faster running backs in this class. I think he is invited to the Combine. So it's going to be like pretty exciting to see what he does at the Combine on Saturday. But you see it here, 4.4 speed, 5'10", 189. A little undersized for an NFL running back, but he's one of the faster backs in the class. He has advanced route running, really good hands in this class. One of the best hands in this class for receiving like at the running back position. He's got great straight line speed. He's been clocked at 22 miles per hour in game. He's a very patient runner, runs behind the blocker, stays patient, waits for the open hole. He's got great ball security. I think he only has like one fumble and like 780 carries, which is pretty insane. He can for weaknesses, he can get stood up pretty easily. It comes with the size. Like I said, 5'10", 189, so not a heavier back, especially for an NFL standard. Like NFL standard, you're searching for 5'11" to 6'2", like 225 range, right? So the size isn't there, so he gets stood up pretty easily. He struggles to create on the outside, like on moving east and west, for instance. The vision is pretty inconsistent, and the pass pro is also very inconsistent. But I think the biggest question for him is just, can he perform at the NFL level, right? So he's an FCS guy. Competition's not nearly as good as it is in like a Power 4 and Division I FBS, right? So can he perform at the NFL level? I think that's the big question, and why he's not anywhere higher on my list, and why he's my fourth honorable mention. Yeah, I had to have 4 honorable mentions because like I said, this class is just insane. So really and truly, I just had to keep pushing guys back. It was pretty brutal stuff. So Marcel Yams. Let's keep it going. So there's Yams. And our next guy, Virginia Tech running back, Bishal Tootin. So Bishal Tootin, once again, 4.39 speed. The speed is elite, but once again, the size, just like Yams, size is not NFL caliber at all. He's got the weight, but the height, he's 5'9", 211, but he still runs a 4.39. So he's got some redeeming qualities there, but has a very small frame, but he's probably top 5 fastest running back in this class, right? Maybe even top 3. He's got elite acceleration, 4.31 40 time, I think is what he's been clocked at. So unofficially, he's got 4.31. He's got great hands as a pass catcher. He's probably one of the best pass catching backs in this whole draft. He's got great contact balance. He's very patient in the backfield, which you really like, especially on the inside zone, on those type of zone runs where you're trying to follow your blockers and you're trying to hit the gap, right? So very patient on those. Very dangerous in the screen game. Once again, one of the better receiving backs in this class. He's got great hands. But, for the weaknesses, pass pro needs some work. And he's not as elusive as the other backs in this class, right? And when you're 5'9", 211, you kind of need a little bit of elusiveness. There we go. That's the right word. You need a little bit of elusiveness. Okay, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. You need a little bit of elusiveness if you're going to perform at, the NFL level, especially when you're 5'9", 211. So that's kind of like the big drawback on him. And also the ball security is a big issue for him, and injury. He's got banged up towards the later end of the season with an ankle injury. So we'll see how that affects him, how it affects his draft stock and whatnot. But, that is Bishal Tootin, our honorable mention number 3. And our honorable mention number 2 may come as a surprise to some of y'all. Not really to me. It's TreVeyon Henderson. And I'll get into why, right? So the physicals, honestly, are really good, right? You're 5'10", 208, 4.39 speed. You're kind of the workhorse back, right? And he's got elite speed and acceleration. I think that's pretty clear. He's able to vary the run tempo, and he can gear down, kind of slow down when he's behind the blocks, then find the hole, and then gear up really easily. You saw that a lot in the Notre Dame game if you watched the film. He's a natural pass protector. He's really good at pass pro. He's got great vision. Once again, that kind of goes with the gearing down behind the blocks. He have great vision. And then he has pretty reliable hands. We saw him take the screen for 75 yards against Notre Dame. But very reliable hands. But the weaknesses, I think, kind of outweigh the positives. The positives are really good. Don't get me wrong. TreVeyon Henderson is a very skilled running back. There's a reason he was kind of dominant. Not really dominant, but he got, I think, a little bit more work than Quinshon Judkins did last season. But it's the negatives kind of outweigh the positives for me. Injury has been a big concern. The 2 years he was kind of the main back, maybe not even the 2 years, but the 1 year he was supposed to be the main back, he was hurt most of the year. 2022, he was also hurt. So the injury is kind of concerning there. Last season, he wasn't hurt, I don't think, at all. But, he was also pretty much 50-50 with Quinshon Judkins in the backfield out as well. So injury is a big deal for me and his durability. If you're an NFL team looking for a durable workhorse running back, I don't think TreVeyon Henderson is the guy for you. It's purely just based off of the durability. Like he just gets hurt every time he's had a full season, he's been hurt. He bounces outside a little too quick when faced with interior pressure. So you're running an inside zone, let's say, the gaps aren't really opening up yet. You immediately bounce it outside. You lose out on a short gain. But yeah, bouncing it outside is a big issue for him. He does it a little too quick, and he's got a pretty basic route tree. Like the screen we saw against Notre Dame was just a basic HB slip screen pretty much. So I think the negatives really kind of outweigh the positives for TreVeyon Henderson, unfortunately for me. But yeah, kind of a surprise there. I feel like he's top 5 on a lot of people's boards, but not me. I think there's way better running backs, especially the running backs I've watched in college football this year. There's just a lot better guys, and we'll get into those guys a little later on. So honorable mention number 1. So number 11 on my list pretty much is DJ Giddens from Kansas State. I think so. DJ Giddens was a guy who kind of went under the radar a lot, I believe, especially at Kansas State. He played really well, as you can see from the stats. Excuse me. 1,300 yards, pretty much 6.6 yards per carry. A little low on the touchdowns, but they weren't really a very run-heavy team in the end zone, I don't think, or at least they would switch running backs. So obviously the goal line is going to be an issue for DJ Giddens. But the measurables are there. I mean, he's 6'1", 212 pounds, a little light, and he runs a 4.56, which is a little slower for a running back, but not necessarily the worst. But, to me, think about a watered-down Ollie Gordon. And we'll talk about Ollie Gordon here in a little bit. But when I'm talking about Ollie Gordon, think about DJ Giddens in kind of the same way, but a lot watered down, right? Great value Ollie Gordon, pretty much. He's got the very similar skill set, kind of like a bigger runner with some speed. And I think, really, Giddens has the potential to develop into a pretty quality receiver out of the backfield. It's kind of something we saw develop over the past 2 years at Kansas State, and he's shown improvement in the pass pro, so it's really good on him. And he does play his best games against good competition, which we don't see a lot of in college football. I think TreVeyon Henderson's best game was for 270 yards against Tulsa or something. But DJ Giddens is a guy who doesn't shy away from competition, and I think that kind of helps his stock a little bit. But, for the weaknesses, he really lacks the top-end speed. And, he's got limited experience as a starter in college. I think this year was kind of his first year starting. Once again, he's a junior. Didn't start his sophomore year. So, there's just limited experience. It's more of a developmental pick, if anything. What we've seen from Giddens from the past 2 years is improvement every year. And will that translate into the NFL? Will he, it's a developmental pick, pretty much. No one's going to waste a third and above round pick, first, second, third round pick on this guy. And, he's going to be a late round pick, is what I'm trying to say. Very developmental piece, but I think he can develop. I think he has the right build, especially if he improves in the receiving game. That's what teams want nowadays, I think, out of a running back. So, yeah, DJ Giddens. Number 11, just off the list. So, to the top 10 we go. Top 10, our number 10 guy is going to be RJ Harvey, running back at UCF. So, the Big 12 had by far the best running backs in college football this year. I just want you guys to know this, especially in this year's draft class. I think 4 out of 5 of these guys, or 4 out of 10 of these guys are from the Big 12. So, let's keep that in mind. The Big 12 running back class was elite. But RJ Harvey, once again, shorter running back, 5'8", 207, kind of that same bowling ball build that we saw with Tootin or Marcus Yams. He's a bit fast, or he is a bit slower than them, but 4.41 speed, which isn't bad at all. So, and you see it here, 1,500 yards, 6.8 yards per carry, and 22 rushing touchdowns. So this guy's got a nose for the end zone, which I really like in a running back. guy you could put on goal line situations, a guy who can, he's very good at cutting up and getting into the open field. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So shorter, heavier set running back. I really like that kind of build. He's got great rushing and receiving ability. I think the receiving ability is kind of an underrated aspect of his game because as you can see, the stats don't really show it. He only had 20 receptions for 267 yards, but I think he's a very good receiver out of the backfield, and he's very elusive for his size, right? So he's 5'8", 207, and you need to be pretty elusive. And I think for his size, his elusiveness is what kind of brings him a lot of value. He can make great cuts. He's very quick laterally, so running up and down or side to side on the field. He's got a very low pad level, which he needs, obviously. I mean, he's 5'8", 5'8", 207 pounds. Like, you're going to have to get into some contact. So he's got a very low pad level, which allows him to, bounce off of the tackles. He's got excellent ball security and is a proven workhorse. He was the number one guy at UCF this year and I think last year as well. So, yeah, the big concerns, though, very undersized frame. Like I said, 5'8", 207. You don't see a lot of guys in the NFL at running back position at that height and weight. He's got he's not very good in pass pro at all, and he doesn't have the ideal power of an NFL running back. So, obviously there's way better guys in this class, but I do think, late round he does have an impact. He's a very underrated running back in my opinion. I'm going to say that a lot this episode, I feel like. But number 10 is RJ Harvey. Let's go ahead and go to number 9. Number 9 is Tahj Brooks from Texas Tech. I really liked Tahj Brooks coming into the season at Texas Tech, especially at the start of the season. I thought he was going to be really good, but he definitely got overshadowed by guys like Cam Scadaboo, Devin Neal, just to name 2 from the Big 12, the conference he's in. So, Tahj Brooks, he's probably the best pure power back in this class, maybe second or third. But, he's literally just a compact bowling ball. I mean, you see he's 5'9", 230, right? So dude's just a literal bowling ball. He's shown improved production each season he's been in a starting role. So we love that. We love to see development, right? He's handled a significant workload and did super well. He didn't have a significant fall off throughout the season, throughout each of his games. For the downsides, though, he kind of lacks elite top end speed. So once again, not the fastest guy. He's kind of a pure power back. He's not very elusive in the open space, and he relies on his power a little too much. He wants to eat tackles, and he's not a receiving back by any means. Once again, pure power back. I love a pure power back, but in terms of what the NFL is now, especially for running backs, I don't think there's much of a market for them. And, you think of the pure power backs, maybe like a Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has great top end speed. So he's kind of like an anomaly. But Tahj Brooks, pure power back. I like him compared to playing a complementary role, like a Tyler Algier or a Gus Edwards kind of role. I think that fits him very well. I think he could really carve a spot in the league as one of those. I mean, even like a David Montgomery, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but I think that role for Tahj Brooks seems pretty legitimate. If you think of a team with a very elusive running back, they often have a very a power back complement, right? So I think Tahj Brooks can fit that role, especially as being the best pure power back in this class. So that was number 9, Tahj Brooks out of Texas Tech. Next, we're going to go to my number 8 guy, which is Quinshon Judkins. So I like Judkins a lot, especially back at Ole Miss. He's got the best contact balance in the class, in my opinion, meaning he can stay upright through contact, break a tackle and whatnot. He could turn routine tackles into chunk plays. I mean, we saw it plenty of times, especially at Ole Miss. He's got the best stiff arm in this class, in my opinion, and he has elite ball security. I think he only has 3 fumbles in his career. He's got very natural hands, so as a receiver, he thrives in short yardage scenarios, and he has great vision. The big thing for him, though, is the speed kind of holds him back. Like I said, he's the ideal build, 6 foot, 219. That's pretty close to perfection for an NFL running back. But he's not as quick as other guys in this class, right? 4.49, 4.45, or 4.5 speed kind of. So not the most elite speed guy in this class, but I definitely think there's a role to be had, in this class. I think, especially for a workhorse back, I think it makes a lot of sense. But like I said, he's not as elusive as other backs. He's got inconsistent pass protection. The production is dipped like significantly against better comp, which is kind of weird to think about. But like every time they played a really great team, Ohio State last season, he didn't do as good as maybe he should have done. And he could be a bit too patient in the backfield and lead to negative plays, which I think you kind of see with his rushing average of 5.5. But still, he got a lot of those goal line situations for Ohio State last season. We saw him a lot in the goal line, especially in the playoffs. Still had 1,000 rushing yards on the season, so not a bad running back by any means. I want to preface this by saying this running back class is so elite that none of these guys are bad picks, in my opinion. Like, obviously, if you reached on one, yeah, it's a bad pick. But they're like each of these guys, I think, has the potential to carve a role out in the league one way or another. So, yeah. Quinshon Judkins. Next up, we got Dylan Sampson, the running back from Tennessee. So you see the measurables here, 5'11", 190. He's projected to have the fastest 40 time out of all the running backs in the class. I think he's going to get rivaled pretty hard by Shaw Tootin. But 5'11", 190, 4.35 speed, so super quick guy. One of the fastest backs in this class, if not the fastest. He's got exceptional burst through the hole. He's got great acceleration. He's been clocked at 22 to 23 miles an hour in a game before, which is insane. He's one of the most twitchy backs in this class. So what we see a lot in this running back class, especially from all the top guys we have left, is none of them are really true twitchy, explosive, super fast, elusive backs. A lot of them are, kind of heavier set, and while they are still elusive, they're not purely elusive. They have a good mix of elusiveness and power, and obviously I think that's pretty much the ideal build. But once again, this guy is just pure elusiveness. You see him, he's only 190 pounds, but one of the most twitchy backs in this class. He's got a great jump cut and spin move. He's got an 80% success rate on third and short, which is super good. He's very impressive after the contact, even though he's only 190 pounds. So yeah, what are the issues? Ball security. He fumbles a lot. And he tries to bounce runs outside rather than like taking the yards between the tackle, which, when he's a pure elusive guy, you kind of expect that. But he lost my train of thought. But he tries to bounce the runs outside rather than taking the available yards between the tackles, which is a big drawback for him. And of course, the size, which I think is the biggest drawback and why he couldn't be higher on my list or any NFL GM's list. So I think the size is the major concern. Obviously, running backs make it work. I mean, the first guy that comes to mind, in my opinion, is like Devon Achane or Jaylen Warren or like a Justice Hill maybe. I think he could fill definitely like a Justice Hill kind of role. Needs to work on the pass catching, but still, the 22 rushing touchdowns is very impressive, especially for a guy of his size. So I think he's definitely, it's going to be interesting to see how teams use him. I once again, he's a guy I kind of see in a committee instead of being a lone workhorse back. We'll take a little sip of water here. Let's go. Stream back. Yeah, we back. What up, boys? Hope we all doing well. So number 7, Dylan Sampson. Number 6 might be a little bit of a surprise, but me personally, I don't think so. It's Ollie Gordon. So, yes, he did not have a good season last year. It wasn't even a bad season. Let me restart. He didn't have a good first half to the season last year, and that caused him to drop off significantly off of everyone's boards, which is crazy to me, right? In my opinion, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, this guy, he's 6'11", 230. He runs a 4.45. He runs a 4.45 at 6'1", 230. That is insane. And yes, the stats aren't great. He didn't even get to 1,000 yards, only 4.6 yards per carry, 13 rushing touchdowns. But his team was awful. They were down in games in pretty much almost every game they played. I think they went 2-10 last season or something, 3-9, something like that. Like Oklahoma State was really bad last year, and it was not Ollie Gordon's fault, but he was the best running sorry, he was the best running back in college football the year before, right? I mean, he absolutely dominated in 2023. So it doesn't really make sense that we're just going to write him off right now. I don't think we should write him off. The measurables are off the chart. Like I said, 6'1", 230, can run a 4.45. I mean, that is insane for the running back position. I think he's got exceptional patience and vision in the backfield. Measurables are insane. I think he has the best mix of size and speed in this class, like compared to everyone. Guys like Gene T, Caleb Johnson, Cam Scadaboo, Amarion Hampton. I think Ollie Gordon has the best mix of size and speed. So the best mix of a elusive and a power back to me is Ollie Gordon. And I think you see that work out a lot in the NFL. So I think there's definitely a spot. I think he could definitely be a starter or even a Pro Bowler at some point in his NFL career. He pulls away on long runs. I mean, you see it from the 4.45 speed. He can pull away, especially in the secondary. He's got route running potential as a receiver. Not a lot of people realize, he wasn't very effective out of the backfield last season. But I think he has a lot of route running potential. We've seen that kind of improve steadily throughout his college career. And that's just kind of the things I really like about Ollie Gordon. I think if we're going to go hidden gem or sleeper, it's Ollie Gordon. Which it sounds so stupid in my opinion that I have to call Ollie Gordon a sleeper when he was the best running back in college football 2 years ago. It makes me mad. It makes me mad. Quite frankly, it just makes me really mad. But, let's talk about the weaknesses. His production against stacked boxes is not very good, and it can be improved. He doesn't have elite acceleration, but, those are the really only two weaknesses I could find for him. Is the acceleration isn't elite, and when other teams stack the box, his production dipped. But I think given where he's projected to be drafted at, which I think is the 3rd to 5th round maybe, this could be the steal of the draft in terms of running backs, in my opinion. I think Ollie Gordon has legitimate shot to be really good in the NFL. So that's my number 6 back, Ollie Gordon. Love it. Love Ollie Gordon. Number 5. Number 5 is probably my second or third favorite running back in this draft. It's Devin Neal. Devin Neal is absolutely electric. Such an underrated back. No one really talked about him last season. He quietly had 1,200 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, and 16 touchdowns, and he was very effective in the receiving game. And then he's 5'10", 220, so about on the border of that NFL caliber running back. Speed is a little slow, 4.5, but that's still not bad at all. So Devin Neal, probably one of my favorite running backs in this class, if not my favorite. He's got great breakaway speed. You could turn routine plays into chunk gains. I mean, we saw it multiple times against Colorado. That's the first game that comes to mind was when Kansas beat Colorado in Kansas City. Devin Neal torched that team. In fact, let's take a look at it because he actually destroyed these guys. I think he had 300 yards combined. Yeah, here we go. Thank you, AI. 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 passes, 80 yards, and another touchdown. So 4 touchdowns and 287 yards against Colorado. Just truly destroyed Colorado. This guy, I think, is going to be, he's going to have a job in the NFL, and he's going to have a job for a long time. He's got, once again, great breakaway speed, turns routine plays into chunk gains. We saw that a lot against Colorado. Very patient runner in the backfield. He hits the gas when he needs to. He can slow it down when he needs to. He's one of the best change of direction runners in this class. And he's got probably the best ball security, one of the best ball security, or some of the best ball security in this class. He's got 4 fumbles on 760 career carries, which is insane. The biggest weakness is his pass pro. And he's not a contact runner like the 4 guys I have above him. He's a true elusive back despite the heavier frame, which is kind of interesting because, you see 220, 5'10", and you expect him to run through the pat or be able to run through somebody, but that's not the kind of guy he is. He's not very power, he's not searching for the hit. He's using the cut. He's juking, he's spin moving, he's an elusive back through and through. So in this class, we've already talked about them, but Dylan Sampson, Devin Neal, probably the number 1 and number 2 elusive backs in this class, in my opinion. But I really like Devin Neal. I think he has a great shot to have a long career in the NFL, especially as an elusive back. Number 3, we're in the top 3 already. Or no, oh, we're not. We're not. I lied. We're at number 4. Number 4. Number 4 is Caleb Johnson. So a lot of people have Caleb Johnson top 3. I don't personally. To me, the main reason is we only got to see him play for 1 year of college football. And I think that, yes, that's good, but I think it's also bad. Like, durability is a big concern for running backs, of course, in the NFL. And, it's a guy who wasn't very durable, but also I think this is a guy who, could get to the league and you're like, holy cow, wait, this guy's not ready yet because he only has that 1 year of college experience. But you see the measurables, 6 foot, 225, so great measurables, 4.5 speed, so not the slowest, but not the fastest either, but I really like him. Obviously, he's number 4. He kind of reminds me of a watered-down Amarion Hampton. So, using that term a lot, but kind of reminds me of Amarion Hampton a little bit. He's a little bit bigger, but he's also a little bit slower. Very patient in the backfield. He's got very good plant and go ability. So he can plant one way and then take off. Very aggressive in that move, right? He can consistently fall forward and is overall like a very patient runner, right? So consistently, low pad level, falling forwards on the run. He turns a 2-yard carry into a 5-yard carry, which is, kind of a very underrated aspect of a NFL running back. He averaged 5.8 yards per carry in the fourth quarter of games. So the reliability, especially in the fourth quarter as the game's going on, this is a guy who kind of gets better as the game goes on, which you love to see from a running back. So averaged 5.8 yards in the fourth quarter of games this season. The speed's good, not great, and the pass pro is not that good. But he also has a very limited route tree as a running back. So this is a pure bell cow, workhorse running back. And to me, if I was to compare him to an NFL player, it'd be like Brian Robinson or like a Najee Harris kind of role. He kind of has that same height and weight as Najee, not the fastest guy. He can fall forwards for 5 yards, and he's going to somehow get 1,000 yards by only putting up 60 yards a game. So I think, Najee Harris role, it's Caleb Johnson. I think those two are very similar. So Caleb Johnson is number 4. To the top 3 we go, and the top 3 really should be no question with the 3 running backs we have left. And at number 3 is the guy I've been very high on since college football season started. We're big fans of him over here at That's an Awful Take podcast. It is Cam Skattebo. He was just elite. I was such a glazer when watching him at Arizona State this year, watching him against Mississippi State in like week 3 or week 2 or something, and he just destroyed them. But, I'm such a big fan. Transferred from Sacramento State, goes to Arizona State, 1,700 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 21 rushing touchdowns, and 605 receiving yards. What an underrated aspect of a running back's game is the receiving yards, right? And Cam Skattebo is being severely underrated, and I hate it. I quite frankly, this guy is like my guy. I hate to say it, but he's my guy. Like, I've been hyping him up all season, all year, since August pretty much. And I get to see him be underrated because, he's too short or he's too heavy, he's not very fast. And while it is true, he's 4.62 speed, not very fast. He's 5'11", 215, which is not even that bad. Like, I feel like that's a pretty comparable build to a lot of running backs in the league. And the stats are outrageous. So let's get into it. I'm higher on most people than Cam Skattebo, and I will die on that Cam Skattebo hill. If Cam Skattebo has no fans, I'm dead. I'm Skattebo guy. The measurables, they're not impressive, but there is a role for him in this league. He's one of the best running backs during and after contact. We saw it so many times in the college football playoff. We saw it so many times during the regular season. We saw it in the big games, the big 12 games where, BYU or Colorado or Kansas State, They're playing these good teams that were projected to make the Big 12 championship, and they didn't. Arizona State was projected to finish last in the Big 12, and the only reason they made it, maybe not the only reason, but the main reason they made it is because of that guy right there. Sorry. But he's one of the best running backs during and after contact. He's got great balance. He's one of the best receiving backs in this class, and I cannot harp on that enough. He is one of the best receiving backs in this class, and nobody talks about it, really. Everybody talks about how he's not very fast, and it's not going to translate, which, we don't see running backs like him in the NFL. I will admit that. But he's not just a power back, bowling ball kind of guy. He can catch the ball. He had 605 receiving yards. That is insane, especially in college for a receiver. Like, he just brings such a crazy dynamic, I think, at the running back position. He's one of the best receiving backs in this class. He's got great hands. He can energize an offense. He's converted on 78% of his third and shorts in 2024. And, of course, he has some weaknesses, right? It's going to happen. He isn't the fastest. We know that. I talked about it. He's not the fastest. The pass pro is very inconsistent. He's trying, but he's inconsistent. Workload could be an issue. He's had like 500 carries in the past 2 years. So workload and durability could be an issue. We kind of saw that in the Texas game, but he stayed in it, and he almost won the game. Like, to me, the durability is not an issue. It's the workload. But in my opinion, I think he kind of fits like an Austin Eckler role. And Austin Eckler was very good for 5 years, pretty much. And he's for sure a better runner than Eckler. And both, I think, have a very similar build. Austin Eckler is kind of a bowling ball build kind of guy, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and that was his main calling card, right? That's what the Chargers were doing. They had Melvin Gordon, but they also had, Austin Eckler. Melvin Gordon could be in there, be the bruiser, and Austin Eckler kind of, was a screen guy. He was very limited on the ground, but I think Cam Skattebo can kind of be what Austin Eckler wants to be running the football, and also maintain that same receiving game as Austin Eckler. So maybe maybe even an Alvin Kamara. I don't even think that's very ridiculous to say. I think he's a better runner than Eckler, very similar receiving wise. So I think, if he played a role like an Austin Eckler, that would also kind of help with the durability concern and like the workload concern. Because obviously, he's been ran a lot the past 2 years. Sacramento State, if you don't know, FCS football team, they run like straight triple option wing T, like Navy football. But I think there's still a legitimate spot for Cam Skattebo in the league. There's my Cam Skattebo rant for the day. I love Cam Skattebo. Join the fan club. I'm a believer. He's going to be good. He's going to be good in the league. I'm almost sure of it. So give me Cam Skattebo. Number 2 running back in this class for me is Omarion Hampton. I love Omarion Hampton. My roommate's a UNC fan. Shout out Liam. But I am not. But I am an Omarion Hampton fan because this guy is insane. And he quietly, he's so good. He's almost so good, he's underrated, right? He's got 1,600 yards this season, but he's the past 3 years, he's been a starter. He's put up 1,500 yards like every season, double-digit touchdowns every season. He's so consistent that people underrate him. He's so consistent, it just goes under the radar, which is crazy to me, in my opinion. Especially on a UNC team, which was really bad last year. He was the one redeeming quality. So let's start the Omarion Hampton talk by saying the gap between him and the guy who's at number 1, if you don't know, it's Ashton Jeanty. The gap is not that big. Really and truly, it is not that big. I think Omarion Hampton is a guy who could rise into the first round, depending on how the combine goes and whatnot. I think there's a lot of more valuable positions that could skyrocket because of the combine. But we'll save that for our mock draft 3.0 after the combine. But the gap between RB1 and RB2 is not as big as people think. Ashton Jeanty is really good, but so is Omarion Hampton. And he's quietly been like a top 2, if not top 1 running back in the past 3 years in football. He's overshadowed by a lot of the, bigger names like we talked about. I feel like you heard a lot about Caleb Johnson this season. Obviously, you heard a lot about Jeanty. Especially late in the season, we heard a lot about Cam Skattebo. I talked a lot about Cam Skattebo myself. But Omarion Hampton has quietly been a top 2 running back consistently the past 3 years. And he's, like I said, very overshadowed. But 4.4 speed at 6 foot 220. That is elite. That is elite, NFL ready, like chef's kiss. Mwah, mwah. Like Omarion Hampton, he is just so good through contact, such great speed, NFL ready frame. He's so explosive, elite explosiveness, and a great pass pro. For the weaknesses, to be honest, I only got one. He just relies on his power a little too much, a little more than his wiggle. And even a guy like Omarion Hampton, he has a lot of wiggle. People don't realize that, but he has a lot of wiggle. He can be elusive. I mean, you see it with the 4.40 time. He can be an elusive running back. He's got that great mix of power and elusiveness, like a Saquon Barkley kind of guy, almost. So I love Omarion Hampton. And of course, number 1, drum roll please. It's Ashton Jeanty. Who's surprised? I'm not. But Ashton Jeanty, he's elite running back talent. He should have won the Heisman. But the measurables, let's look at him. He is 5'9", a little short, but 215 pounds and runs a 4.42. So, once again, one of the faster running backs in this class. He's probably the most hyped running back in a draft since like Ezekiel Elliott, in my opinion. At least that comes to my mind. He's got elite balance. He's got great vision and anticipation in the backfield. I mean, we saw it so many times. Teams are putting 8 guys in the box, and he was still busting out a 20 to 30 yard run, which is insane. And something needs to, the talent wasn't that great of the players he was playing against, but still, it is insane. He was extremely hard to bring down. He's got great burst and the long-term speed. Like you think about, back in the day when Derrick Henry would bust out a 99-yard run and get clocked at like 21 miles an hour when he's already on the other side of the 45, right? So, great long-term speed. He's a proven workhorse back. He's a little undersized at 5'9", and he needs a little bit of improvement in the passing game in terms of a receiver and as a pass blocker. But Ashton Jeanty is the best pure runner in this class. I mean, you see it. 2,600 yards, 29 rushing touchdowns, 7 yards per carry. I mean, truly Ashton Jeanty, he's elite. He's going to be really good. And I think he's probably going to be in that Zeke to Derrick Henry conversation when he's drafted. And hopefully he can keep up with that throughout his NFL career. So that was our top 10 running backs there. If you guys need a quick recap, we had 4 honorable mentions, which was Marcus Yams out of Delaware, Baishaw Tootin out of Virginia Tech, Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, and DJ Giddens out of Kansas State. Then our top 10, number 10, we had RJ Harvey. Number 9 was Taj Brooks. Number 8 was Quinshawn Judkins. 7 was Dylan Sampson. 6, Ollie Gordon. 5, Devin Neal. 4, Caleb Johnson. 3, Cam Scadaboo. 2, Omarion Hampton. And 1, Ashton Jeanty. So that was, our top 10 running backs. I think our goal now, we're going to pivot a little bit. I'm going to take a sip of water, and we're going to pull some things up here. If you guys got any questions, please ask. We're going to get into a little bit of combine stuff. So, started today. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. All right. No questions. How lame. Anyways, let's get into it. Sorry, forgot to switch the screen around. I might have to zoom this in as well. Yeah, let's zoom her in. So, as I said, defensive tackles and defensive ends today for the Combine. And we have some of the official times in. So, James Pierce ran a 4.47, which is crazy. I mean, we just went over some running back 40s, and they were 4.5. Excuse me. So, running 4.47 is elite. And for a guy like James Pierce Jr., that's really big. Kind of getting overshadowed by the other guys in this class. Mike Green didn't run, but you see, a lot of really good speed, especially off the edge. Shamar Stewart is a guy I talked about at the very start of the pod. Shamar Stewart is going to be a riser. He is going to be insane. I mean, 4.59 at what was the weight on Shamar Stewart? Yeah, 267.
Which is a stupid thing to say.
Oh,
for someone who's 6'5".
Sorry about that. Anyways, 6'5", 267, and ran a 4.59, 158 10-yard split, which is kind of the big deal for defensive tackles, edge rushers, and whatnot. Obviously, you're not going to be running a 4.40. So 10-yard split, it's how fast you can, or how quick you can cover 10 yards. So kind of more important. But you see it 40 inch vertical. Sorry, golly. But 40-inch vertical, 10-11 broad jump. I mean, he's been an absolute spectacle to watch at the combine so far. He's been insane. So Shamar Stewart is a guy who's probably going to rise into the top 10 at this point right now, at the way it's going. So Shamar Stewart has obviously been a great riser. James Pierce needs to be a riser, in my opinion. But you see 10-3 broad jump, 31-inch vertical, but you see that 156 10-yard split. James Pierce Jr., I think, obviously, this edge class is loaded. You see guys like Landon Jackson even rising. I was watching it before the pod.
He's going to get drafted.
But Landon Jackson, he's kind of a guy who is projected to go in the second round, late first. Once again, with the rise of guys like Shamar Stewart and Mike Green, he's kind of been, overshadowed by those guys. But you see it, 165 10-yard split, 40.5-inch vert, and then a 10-9 broad jump. So athletically, Landon Jackson is skyrocketing probably on boards. So maybe he gets back into the first round. You think about guys who aren't testing, or maybe, we need to see more like a Michael Williams. I think those guys are destined to fall with how athletic these guys are testing. So see if there's any other edge. Obviously, we have Princely Umalamaleum, something like that. But anyways, 162 10-yard split, very good. 38-inch vert, 10-6 broad jump. Once again, extreme, like the measurables on these guys has been pretty nasty. So there's Umoilean. Wow, yeah. So that's what we see from the edge rushers. At defensive tackle, see guys like Tyron Ingram-Dawkins. It's kind of,
Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins.
A slight riser, I think. He definitely will. I mean, he's a little smaller, 6'5", 270. But, you see the 169 10-yard split, 10-4 broad jump. Athletically, he looks good. So we like Tyron Ingram-Dawkins. Darius Alexander was a guy who was rising before the combine.
This is a top 50 player.
And, the measurables aren't insane. They're not, overly good. But, this is a guy who's projected to go in the second round. So we looked at it. We like it. We like this from Darius Alexander. Obviously, we have Derek Harmon here. Derek Harmon, projected to be in the first round, late first, early second. I really like Derek Harmon, but you see it 174, a little slow in the 10-yard split, but I think he has legit potential, especially if he gets drafted to a team that already has a premier defensive tackle to be that DT2. I really like Derek Harmon to do that. Let's see who else we got. You got guys like JJ Pegues. He's been tested, or he's been asked to
Elijah
work
Simmons
out
is
as
going to be
a
running.
fullback, which is pretty interesting. It doesn't really jump out that much to you, but Pegues has been a guy for Ole Miss. Ole Miss fans love him. Yeah, that's what we like. We love the defensive tackle and edge class, which I think after the pod, or not after the pod, after in a couple weeks, we're for sure going to do an edge and defensive tackle ranking, because I think they're really that good, which is crazy. There's so many good ones in this class, like the running backs. So Really like that from them. And, obviously we have guys like Abdul Carter who didn't test. I don't think Walter Nolan is testing either. Yeah, I don't.
All right, so Carter will not.
Yeah, Walter Nolan is not testing. Mason Graham did test a little bit, I believe.
Well,
maybe he didn't. I don't remember, but he was there for interviews and stuff. But Mason Graham obviously is projected to go in the top 10, at least in my mocks. So, Mykal Williams, Jalen Walker isn't testing, or Mike Green. Shamar Stewart, I think, is the big riser though, from the combine so far. In the little bit I've watched, it's been Shamar Stewart. So that's a little combine update for you guys, just to kill some time. We can talk about a little bit about the NBA while we're at it. Why not? We can get into some prize picks. How about that? Yeah. Get into that money flow. Sorry, guys. All right. So, prize picks. Obviously, your boy's heavy into it. We've been on a cash flow recently. But this is our MLB season parlay. If you guys want to tail it, if you like money, please do. I'm very confident in all these picks. Especially these two, I think are going to be for sure locks. I think Wheeler gets 200 strikeouts this season. Excuse me. And Matt Olson to bounce back this season, I think, is there. We got two kind of parlays here. Tail if you like money. Michael Porter Jr. over rebounds. Cole Anthony 1 3-pointer made and 4 rebounds for Brook Lopez. I think very easy there. And then they did a playoff or a power up boost, so I did that with that as well. But anyways, let's see what we've been hitting on. DeRozan assists has been pretty much a lock all season. Same with this RJ Barrett Goblin points. We had a pretty rough day there. We're not going to talk about that. Kristaps Porzingis Goblin points. It was pretty consistent. I don't think it is anymore. Cade Cunningham versus Atlanta, always a lock. Bradley Beal PRA has quietly been like a thing I've been eating on recently. Same with LeBron James. Anything like assists and rebounds has been really big for Braun. Big Jelly Naz Reid has been really good. Desmond Bane is the ultimate wagon. We love the Desmond Bane wagon. 14.5 points for Desmond Bane. It's such a lock. It hits every time. We got the Bam Adebayo points in there as well. But it's Desmond Bane points, LeBron James assists or rebounds, whatever I'm feeling that day. I mean, you see it a lot. We've been riding the Sabonis grind a little bit. He's cooled down for sure, but we love especially and Jalen Duran. So yeah, we love these picks. We love these picks. Hopefully we make some money tonight. So yeah, I don't really have anything else planned for y'all. Honestly, I thought the thing was going to eat up a little bit more time, but that's okay because I'm hungry. Anyways, I'll leave it open to chat. If you guys have any questions, please ask. It's Real Spiel. It's kind of what I call it. I need to get more official about that. But Real Spiel, if you guys don't know, segment where I answer y'all's questions. It could be about anything, really anything. So please, if you have a question, ask anything. Spring training, college basketball, go Dogs, beat Florida. Sorry, I didn't say that. We don't like Florida in this house, but yeah, go Dogs. These conference tournaments for basketball are going to be insane. Caden asks, should I drink tonight? And to that, Caden, I respond with yes, because I am, and so is JT. So yes, you should. Garrison should as well, and so should Aiden. Well, it is Power Hour tonight, Caden, so think about that. $2 Wells drinks tonight from 12 to 1 a.m. I don't know. I couldn't tell you where those are, actually, Caden. The Huzz. Brick Power Hour, actually. That's where they're going to be. Brick Power Hour, just for you. Mic drop. But yeah, I think that's all. A little early today, but that's fine. I'm hungry. So, anyways, this has been That's an Awful Take podcast with your host, Price Manser. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Once again, I appreciate all the support. Follow me on Instagram at TAATpod and TikTok. Same thing. Link in the description, I believe. Yeah. Hope everyone has a wonderful evening. And I will see y'all next week. Thank y'all for another amazing episode.